Now, the reason I say that they're independent of each other, because if you start mixing a color into these three primary colors, something happens, and that's what we're going to talk about next. Let's say if I mixed a little bit of this red just into the blue, I'm no longer going to have just a red color or just a blue color. What happens is that you get a unique thing that happens. If I mixed a little bit of blue with a little bit of red, I get more of a purple color, more of a lavender or a violet, depending on how much you add. These two colors, blue plus red, they're no longer those colors anymore. When you add them together, they become purple. Now, let's say I add blue and yellow together, those colors no longer exist as they once did, but then they become a new color, which is green. Same thing happens with red and yellow. Mix those two together, they become orange. Now, when you start mixing colors together like that, remember we started out with our three primary colors. We got blue, red, and yellow. But as soon as you start mixing those colors together and get these other colors, those colors are what artists refer to as secondary colors, because the secondary color requires two primary colors in order to exist. So purple cannot exist just by itself. It needs to be mixed. Same thing with green, same thing with orange. Now, when I'm painting, basically all I'm thinking about in my head is something similar to this, a color wheel. And this color wheel, as simple as it looks, is basically all that you need, all that you need to picture in your mind as you're mixing colors. Color can be very complicated if you want it to be, and you can make it complicated, but I like to keep things simple. And I think even the subject of color can be simple. It's just how far you want to take color is the question. So as we look here, and we've got three primary colors, now we've got our secondary colors. I'd like to just go ahead and show you actually on the palette how we can arrive at those primary colors, so you can see, or those secondary colors, I'm sorry, so that you can see for yourself what I'm talking about, because I can talk about mixing colors and mixing these together, but I think if I mix it on the palette, I think it might help you. Now, let's go ahead and, we've got our three primary colors. Now, let's go ahead and mix yellow and blue together. When you have a light color and a dark color like we have here, it's much easier to take your light color and put that down first and then mix a little bit of the dark color into it. Because if I do it the opposite way, I'll show you what happens, but it'll take a lot more paint, as far as a lot more yellow, to try to lighten that color up. So let's take a little bit of blue and let's start mixing these together. And as I mix these together, you'll start to see that it starts to change color. Now we've got sort of a lighter green. And then if I take some of that and add a little more blue, we'll end up with a different green, a little bit darker, a little bit cooler. Okay, and then if we take blue and mix it with that red, I'm going to take this red because it's a little lighter in color than the blue is. We mix those two together. It's going to be pretty dark, but I'm going to show you what happens when you add a little bit of white to it. Let's add a little more blue. Bring some more of that blue over there. Okay, that's pretty dark, but if I take a little bit of white and lighten it up a little bit, you'll start to see that that color starts to change to more of a purple color, and then the more red that I have in there, it'll change it to a slightly different color. Let's add a little more blue just to see if it'll, and that's more of a purple type color that we're used to seeing. So it changes the color altogether. When I add those two together, that term is what artists refer to as graying a color down. They're called graying because you get these various different shades of not only grayish color in here, but you get various grays of purple and yellow. Artists refer to those as grays, and so graying down a color is extremely important. So let me show you real quick on the palette. We've got, we'll take blue and orange here again. And if I mix blue and orange together, I'll keep that there just in case I need it. I can mix these blue and orange together. That has more orange in it. Let's do one that has a little more blue in it. And we'll do one that has a lot of blue in it. And one that has a lot of orange in it. So no longer are those two colors, that blue and that orange, no longer are they what I would consider pure colors. This orange straight out of the tube would be a pure color. That's just pure straight orange. Same thing with my blue, which I don't have any more blue over there, but my blue would be a pure blue. But when you mix those together, it's called graying down, and you get a very, oops, it's got a little bit of blue in it. Let me get rid of that. You get a very interesting effect that takes place. You get orange, sort of an orange color, but you don't have to have that bright orange, because rarely do you see everything in pure colors. Everything that you see out in nature is pretty much a version or a grade version of a color. There are times when you do see more pure colors, but for the most part, they're various grays. And as you can see, the more blue I add, the cooler it's going to get, and you get a different look altogether.